When the season began, I don't think a lot of people expected Missouri and Georgia to be a huge game, but here we are. Missouri has found a way to get to a point where they're going to compete for an SEC East title and compete for an SEC East or an SEC championship. The Missouri Tigers have been the surprise or a surprise in college football, the surprise probably of the SEC. And it's been really fun to watch. They have been a really exciting team, and there are certain players that have stepped up who we'll dive into more. But this is a team that's playing with a ton of confidence, and now they get a chance at Georgia, and like they do every year. But this is about as good of a chance that they've had. Georgia is obviously still one of the best teams in the country. I don't know if I would rank them number one, but they are definitely in the running for that conversation. Missouri is a team looking to knock them off, and this is a Georgia team that I think maybe took a step forward, and it's going to be tough to beat them. But this is still going to be a tough game because Missouri is playing so well. And obviously, a lot of that stems from the offense. Brady Cook is playing really well, but it's Luther Burden, the former five-star wide receiver, who's having a huge year. And I think we kind of expected that when Eli Drinkwood's system came into play. You knew that the slot receiver would have a big year when he was going to be coaching. And Luther Burden finally found a way to make a big impact. I think last year we were kind of waiting for him to break out. We didn't quite see that, but he did find a way to make an impact, and now he's doing that even more. He had a breakout year this year, and he's not done yet. Looking to get over 1,000 yards. Maybe he does that in this game, which would be an impressive performance against one of the best secondaries in college football. But Luther Burden is definitely a player to watch because his success probably dictates how close Missouri can keep this game. On the defensive side of the ball, they have their hands full. Johnny Walker is having a good year. And I think there are a number of players that, especially in the front seven, you lost a number of playmakers, whether that's to the portal, whether that's to graduation, NFL, you name it. They lost a lot of talent, but they have a ton of talent returning on the back end. They also had guys step up in a big way. Now, the defense is definitely the weakness of this team, but I think that you've seen some good things from them. I think the defense has been disruptive at times. They've created a lot of havoc, and now they're looking to do the same against the defending back-to-back national champions. If you're able to play really physical against Georgia, I really like what Missouri could do against the Bulldogs. That being said, Georgia is a different beast. It's unlike any team that Missouri has played, mostly because both sides of the football you have to worry about. When you played LSU, you weren't necessarily worried about the defense, but you knew the offense could score. And obviously, Missouri couldn't keep up with the Tigers in that 49-39 loss, but Georgia has both sides of the ball figured out. Maybe they have to take some steps at certain positions, but they are definitely a more complete team than anybody Georgia or Missouri has seen. Georgia is just that good. Tyke Smith is having a potential All-American year. He's been phenomenal for that defense. He's just one of many players that we'll talk about today that make an impact. Carson Beck doing kind of the same thing for the offense. He is having a good year. He's very decisive with the football. He is making a lot of big time throws and he's slinging it. I think that he's making smart decisions. He doesn't need to be a hero, but he knows where to go with the football. And it's a reason why they're averaging over 40 points per game and they're throwing for over 330 yards per game. They're an explosive offense that still is trying to figure out the rushing attack, but when you look at this team as a whole, there's not much that worries you when you're a Georgia Bulldog fan. But now you're facing a Missouri team that is looking to make life a little bit more difficult. Matchups will be a key, and that seems pretty obvious to say. But whoever covers Luther Burden, if that's Tyke Smith, really incredible matchup to watch. You're watching two of the best at their positions go head to head. Brady Cook and Carson Beck. I think their ability to take care of the football, make smart decisions will be another matchup that you can definitely keep an eye on. But there's certain other underrated players, mostly for Missouri, but there are a couple that we'll talk about for Georgia as well. Cody Schrader, the running back, having another solid year, flies under the radar because most people pay attention to the passing attack. This is a passing attack besides Luther Burden that has done an incredible job of moving the football. Brady Cook's elevation and development of his game have been really fun if you're a Missouri fan. And when you look at the defense, another group of underrated players. Tyron Hopper, one of the more underrated linebackers in college football. And the secondary is loaded with talent. We knew that coming into this year, and they have played really well. And now they'll have a big test against the Georgia Passion Attack. Now, Georgia is not known for underdogs, but you have a couple of positions that definitely are X factors and maybe makes them the underdog. Dejon Edwards and the rushing attack play a big role in this game, mostly because We haven't seen them take over or dominate or be as consistent as you'd like. I mean, they're still good, don't get me wrong, but I think that you'd like to see a little bit more balance from Georgia in terms of their offense. You'd like to see them maybe not rely on the pass as much, but I feel like the last couple of weeks we maybe have seen that. Oscar Delp has come in and taken a big step forward due to the Brock Bowers injury. Brock Bowers was one of the best players in college football, and his injury obviously left a big hole. But when you recruit like Georgia does, you don't necessarily have to worry about too much. On the defense side of the ball, there's not really many underdogs we'll talk about. The linebackers are really fun to watch. Javon Johnson gets a ton of recognition, but Smail Mondon is having a good year too, leading the team in tackles, an extremely athletic linebacker who makes a lot of plays. He and Dumas Johnson are one of the best duos in college football. And then we talked about the secondary and Tyke Smith. Javon Bullard is an absolute bullet when he's coming after people. When he is trying to make a hit, he makes his presence known and does not waste time getting to the football. Missouri has their hands full. I don't know if they have enough punches to throw and if Burden is enough to get them through. I think the passing attack has to be whole. I think that they have to be deep and I think they have to be versatile in terms of who they get the football to. Finding ways to get certain players open, finding ways to get Burden open obviously is big too, but you have to find ways to get other people involved. You have to get Brady Cook to be consistent. And if they can do that, then I think this game is close. The question is whether or not Georgia can handle Missouri's offense and can they handle Luther Burden? Because if they take him away, there's still plenty of other weapons that Missouri can utilize, but that's a huge key in slowing down the Missouri offense. When the defense can be disruptive, that also plays a big role because Georgia has been very good at slowing teams down by getting in the backfield and making life miserable for anybody trying to move the ball against them. And a guy like Brady Cook can be easily influenced. We've seen him at times struggle and resort back to his old days. You look at the last couple of games, not exactly the strongest performances for Brady Cook. There are a couple factors going into that, and sometimes it's just you just don't have it, and other times there are certain situations that you don't necessarily need to throw the ball as much, or you don't need to be as great. That being said, Brady Cook must be great against Georgia. You must be at your best when you're playing a team like Georgia. Carson Beck, same thing. I'm not saying that Missouri is one of the best teams that we've seen in the last few years, but they are playing with a ton of confidence. They are coming in hot. And if you do not take them seriously, they can pull off an upset. Now, that being said, we know that Kirby Smart will have this team ready. We know that Carson Beck in the offense will have everything that they can throw at Missouri, and more than likely that's going to be enough. Georgia wins this game to me because even though Missouri's playing at a high level, they're just not on the level of Georgia. And we're still kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. But here's the thing. Georgia is one of those teams coming into this year that if you were going to beat them, you had to beat them at the beginning of the year because the more time you give them to figure things out, the more dangerous they get. And over the last few weeks, they have figured things out. Their defense is playing really well. The offense is playing well too. The time to beat them almost seems over. And yes, this 3 game stretch they have coming up will obviously test them, but this is a Georgia team that is all about business. They know how to figure it out. They have played it well enough together. They have been through some adversity. They can find ways to win this game. That being said, do not take Missouri lightly. I know that they won't, and they will set the tone early. But if they mess around, Missouri is a team that can make this interesting. But I think Georgia takes care of business. I don't necessarily think there's a ton that Missouri can do if Georgia's playing at a high level. So for that reason, Georgia is going to win this game this weekend.